We begin on the eve of a painful milestone for a community and a country still grieving the 16 lives lost in the Humboldt Broncos tragedy a year ago tomorrow. Each of the Broncos families has endured their own agonizing journey since that April afternoon when they learned of the catastrophic bus crash. For Ed and Rhonda Tobin of Stony Plain, Alberta, though, there was another layer of grief, one that's kept them from breaking their silence until now. Reporting their story for CTV News tonight is TSN's Ryan Rashog.
So we have some of Parker's ashes in here. When we go on vacation or we go away, it's always important for me to bring him with us.
For the past year, this bedroom has sat virtually untouched.
So special pictures of Parker in here.
A patchwork of memories, pride, and pain for the Tobins and the son they want the country to know more about.
Parker was a great kid. He really knew who he was.
Just the way he treated other people. He just was generally a nice guy.
It's still difficult to revisit that traumatic day last April.
I tried calling Parker and I couldn't get any answer on his phone.
Hospital finally called and said they had Parker.
I just remember as we were walking through like every one of those rooms and not recognizing anybody, realizing it, how big this was, how badly these kids were injured. And they brought us into the room. And I do remember looking at him and saying, like, that's not him. Right, and that's not because it wasn't him, but just because he was so badly injured. It wasn't anybody that I knew.
Even Parker's telltale chickenpox scar above his nose was covered by a wound. For 2 days, the family kept constant vigil next to the teenager they believed was their son. They met with doctors, gave consent for surgery, and made sure he was never alone.
It was just time like talking to him, whether it was like, just trying to hold his hand.
On Sunday, they got word he was ready to begin breathing again on his own.
Well, he woke up and didn't know us.
Yeah, he
right?
saw it.
And my first thought was, he's got a brain injury. And then, Xavier just simply said his name. And it was like, oh my, it's not him. Then that was it. We knew, everything collapsed.
I fainted. Finding out at that point that he didn't make it was just, my heart broke. Our oldest son went and identified him.
Late last night, we were made aware of an error that had occurred in the identification of two of the individuals.
People sometimes, I think, wonder, like, how did we get there and not know it was him? There's that one picture where they're in the locker room together. And when you see that picture, you realize, oh, wait a minute, they're actually not that different.
Everything where you thought, it doesn't necessarily look like Parker's hand, but then we're told, there was so much swelling.
The Tobins say they didn't know the LaBelles initially had some doubts as well. The coroner did not tell them.
If that had been communicated, to us, then those 2 days might have turned out to be a lot different. We're not like bitter or angry with anybody over the whole misidentification.
With you, switch nightmares of sorts. What's that conversation between yourselves and the LaBelles?
A lot of tears. A lot of tears for, both of us. But it was really important that we spent time with them and for them to know that, we weren't angry about anything, that we were just, we wanted them to feel reassured that don't feel guilty.
The Tobins remain close with the LaBelles and still feel a deep connection with Xavier.
He'll always have a special place in our heart.
In sharing their experience, the Tobins hope to shed the label they feel has been placed on both the boys.
Every time one of the boys gets mentioned, regardless of the topic, that little tag along goes with them,
Misidentified.
The boy that was one of the boys who was misidentified. We don't want that to be Parker's legacy.
Instead, they want to pay tribute to his true legacy, by paying forward all the support they've received.
We would like to do an annual scholarship for a goalie. We want to host a goalie camp. We just want people to know, like, Parker the academic, Parker the athlete. I mean, he's always going to be a part of the Broncos story, but he was more than that. And, you know, same for Xavier. He's so much more than that. And he's got a great future to write yet.
Ryan Rashog, CTV News, Stony Plain, Alberta.